everyone. Welcome back. Betsperts Golf 2023 Memorial Tournament here with my friend, Andy Molitor. Andy, how we doing?
Did you not know what year it is?
Yeah,
long weekend.
I golfed on Friday. So yeah, really long weekend. So I've been out of the saddle for a solid half week. It's been nice. How we doing, my friend?
Yeah, it was a nice the weather. I'm assuming you got similar weather to me, being down in Chicago. There, yeah, gorgeous Memorial Day weekend. The only problem is like when you're a youth. Let's say you're in school, even in high school or college, like. You get back on Tuesday and it's just like, yeah, this is nice. It was a 3-day weekend. You have like a real job. And I guess there's probably some jobs where it doesn't matter. But I'd say a lot of jobs, just like Tuesday just sucks. Like I enjoy the 3-day weekend. It's like, oh no, my whole week is compressed. I essentially have to do all of Monday's work today too. So
yeah,
it's just a bit of a struggle here on a Tuesday. But I'm excited. I like this tournament. I know this probably costs a lot of people money, and God, Rufus was big on him that week too. But objectively, the maybe the funniest COVID outcome ever for any sporting event, outside of just like I don't remember the basketball game. They just stopped at like halftime in the Big East St. John's game. Like, this is a thing. We should cancel the tournament at halftime. But my God, John Rahm was not just winning, not just like playing really well. I mean, he was lapping the field. I thought, and it was one of those where everybody's done this. Everybody's been busted where they post like a fake Schefter tweet in a group chat. Like, oh, that's on me. I checked this so many times when I first read this. I'm like, this can't be real. Like, it's one thing if it happened to somebody or it happened to somebody who was in contention. But I mean, to happen to John Rahm that year, 2 years ago, where he was so far ahead and so much better. It was so wild. I felt really, really bad for him, and I don't even like the guy. So we're done with that. We're back to normal. John Rahm here in the field, your favorite. But as usual, a really, really, really good field, really good tournament, really nice course. Got redone a bit a while back. The year before that? We got to play here 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, they played the Workday
Charity Classic, something or other.
Yeah, set it up like it was, as soft as they possibly could. Morikawa won that iteration, and then Rahm comes back and wins the next week. But yeah, the Rahm thing was painful. Like you could hear him. I mean, we had audio of it where he came off the green, and they're like, whispering, but you hear him because he's, a big Spaniard. He's not super quiet. He was just distraught. And dominating because we don't even really have like how good he was that week because it instantly gets wiped from the records. It's a WD. We don't even know how good in hindsight he was that week, but he was up by I want to say 6 strokes.
I mean, he was up like 20 strokes gained on the field.
Yeah, he was
like after 3 rounds. I mean, it was kind of an all-time performance on a really hard track. That was the big thing too. We got a bit of a preview, but it was a terrible preview. They set it up nice and soft. They watered differently. They cut differently. Everything was nice for Workday. And then, I mean, it's like going 50cc to Rainbow Road with your eyes shut. I mean, in 1 week, it was crazy the difference we saw. And probably a good analog for what we're going to see this week. I would be remiss to not mention our guy, Emiliano Grillo, mentioned heavily on this podcast by one Ryan Noonan at 100-1. We're not even going to mention the last few holes and like everything that transpired and having to sweat that in a playoff was like, I felt so bad for you. Like, I'm like, this sucks. If he loses this playoff, I'm not even going to text Ryan. I'm done. I'm just going to let him wallow.
It was rough. I made the mistake of, me and our, friend here from last season, Jeff Feinberg. I know Feinberg had a Grillo at 100 as well. And we were victory lapping in text messages before it was over. And that's not a good place to be where you're, all of a sudden that tee shot goes wayward. And then obviously unprecedented scenario where it finds the viaduct and just continues to run back towards the tee box for a solid 5 minutes. It was just kind of a crazy situation considering, it's closing outrights at 100-1 shouldn't be easy, and it certainly wasn't. And I left my house. Like, I was locked in watching the tournament. I'm like, I can't watch this anymore. I saw Harry Hall go into the water on 18. I saw Adam Shank stripe it down the middle. I'm like, I'm out of here. Like, best case scenario, it
was nice. It's like, all right, Shank had a makeable putt, not like super makeable. It was mid range.
Yeah,
but like at least you knew when Hall went in the water. It's like, all right, we're probably probably getting a 2-man playoff.
Yeah,
if we end up there. So I'm happy it went that way. I hate watching playoffs. I've had very, very good luck. I've been very fortunate. Just it's kind of a variance thing. Like I know some people in tennis betting have good or bad luck when it comes to retirement. You can have good or bad luck when it comes to like just late game turnovers or bullpen melts in baseball. I've had really good luck with playoffs. I still hate watching them because it's just that's the thing I love the most about golf. It's like even a blow up hole, you double bogey early on in the week, let's say, it's not going to end your day. Whereas once you get to the playoff, that's it. Like there's one bad ball. We've seen that. I can't remember JT, somebody. There's been a couple people who've had like, oh, and that drive's going to land right behind a tree. So this tournament is like over.
Yeah.
Once you have to like chip one out onto the fairway, it's like, well, fuck, we're done. Essentially, it's match play and it's over at this point. So it's always nerve wracking. I hate it. I've been lucky, and I'm glad you were lucky. Although Grillo was playing really well, and obviously got the karma points for bringing the kids in to let him hit while he was waiting for Shank to finish the round, and then pre-karma points for also like I thought that was a fake tweet too, or he called somebody out on Twitter like, yeah, I was with your mom last night. It's like, whoa, just feeling himself this week.
Yeah, rightfully so. Yeah, the kid thing was great. You felt like that's some good juju there for him to get his at least, again, these are some of the things that we can't actually put into a model and run, but you feel like his headspace in that moment has got to be pretty good, where he's not completely beating himself up for the wayward drive and how it kind of played out, because he actually hit a great shot off the drop off the cart path. It was just the next chip was horrendous. And, when you leave him to make a, 18-foot bogey putt to at least get in at 9, and we're, knowing and forcing Shank or Hall to make a birdie at 9, like I knew that wasn't going to happen as soon as that chip was went running through the green, because they were running hot fairways and greens were running really, really hot. And got home on the 100. It's good to get off the schneid. It's been a couple at least a month and a half or so. So outrights are hard. So when you get one, you get 100 knocking on the door, you want to get it home. So
in the universe usually levels things out. You got a big outright home. How'd the Celtics do?
I don't want to talk about it. So yeah,
it was kind of a terrible. I don't have any outrights in the NBA. I didn't bet the game. Awful. I missed the early number on the under. Everyone else in the world bet the under. From just a standpoint of watching the game, kind of an awful game. It wasn't even that fun to watch. So
no, everyone makes a run in the NBA except the Celtics occasionally at home. They just don't. So
I can't. TV. It's funny too. And producer Dan was kind of baffled by this when I told him this a while ago too. I kind of watch TV on my own schedule. A lot of stuff I just don't take in live, or I watch it when I want to watch it. I'm watching because it's the NBA playoffs, and I should be watching those instead. I'm watching The Last Dance. Pretty good. Oh. Never seen it.
You didn't see it in COVID?
No.
Were you too busy?
I was kind of watching. I mean, I got it through memes. I'm like, I basically watched it.
Oh, that's
People
fair.
are posting the whole fucking thing on Twitter. I'm like, I'm not going to watch this. I was doing other stuff at the time. I don't remember what. Probably grinding UFC, because that was like my jam for about 3 months. But pretty good. Michael Jordan stuff. So
yeah, the challenge with the Celtics thing is that it's really kind of the only team at this point being in sports industry. So both of us do so much on the football side. I still have some fandom with the Patriots, but it's just not the same, because it's just different, right? It's my job. It's really hard to be an absolute laundry fanboy at this point. The Red Sox just refuse to sign their own talent. They are acting like they're the Pittsburgh Pirates the last decade or so. That's made it really hard to cheer for the Red Sox passionately anymore. So the Celtics, considering I really don't do anything in the NBA space, basketball is a passion of mine. I have a 15-year-old who is all in on basketball, love Celtics. That's really kind of the last team that I really just kind of blood, sweat, and tears with. So yeah, that was tougher for him yesterday than me at this point, where he's just really, really frustrated yesterday and this morning. We were talking about it on the way to school this morning. Like, look, you'd rather continue to get there, right? We've had a handful of, some finals appearances, some Eastern Conference finals in this Tatum Brown era. You'd rather continue to get there. And yeah, either way, I kind of feel good about it because I don't feel like they would have had a shot against the Nuggets. And I don't think the Heat do really either. But yeah, you'd obviously rather get to the finals than lose 3 times at home in the Eastern Conference finals. So yeah, rough game last night.
Rough hang. And yeah, just to continue on that, it's almost like, I don't know, I'm trying to find a golf analogy to it, but for the Bruins and Celtics, neither of them to reach the finals, it does feel kind of like at the beginning of the playoffs, it feels like a low percentage outcome. It's kind of like one of the big 3. Are we elevating? Let's switch over to Memorial now. Are we elevating Patrick Cantlay into? Is the big the big 3 turned into the big 2 because Rory sucked ass for a while? Are we elevating Patrick Cantlay? Are we giving him interim status into the big 3 this week because of his course history? And I mean, he's 1B anyway. When in that second tier where him and Xander and some other guys that are close. They always kind of close to that tier. Honestly, Hovland, Morikawa, JT, some of the other guys like that. But considering his course history, do we have a big 3 here now because of Cantlay?
It's a fair question. And I would say, too, it's irrelevant this week. When we're at a major, there is a big 3, and it's Brooks with the way he's playing right now. So, in terms of...
I think it's going to be like a rotating seat.
Yeah.
Like how you have the... What's it called in NATO? Where you have like the Security Council and like it's like, well, the America's always in, but then I think they maybe rotate one of them. Now I'm talking about shit I don't 100% know about.
We're talking G7 and there's
the G7 summit. It's like, hey, we're gonna have a rotating cast, and this week in the big 3 is Patrick Cantlay because fucking he's kind of crushed here before, and I guess we could start by looking at the course because.
Yeah,
we've been here for a while. There was some overhaul not too long ago, but I think we have enough good course history to just tell you like how this plays and how fucking tough it is.
And that's kind of why I think Cantlay is in the discussion, because when you think of what Cantlay does really well, he hits it long and straight off the tee. You have to do that here. I think you have to do that here even more now that they've done the renovations. Before it was really, these are small greens. They're fast. They're bent grass. The rough can be penal, but the fairways were really wide. Part of the renovation was they extended all the par 5s, added some length to the par 4s as well. Par 4s are hard to score here, but they also did narrow the fairways in landing zones. So I think total driving long and straight off the tee becomes a little bit more paramount this week than what we've seen in past iterations of this. And that's kind of why I do think Cantlay could be part of a big 3 as it relates to Muirfield Village, because that is kind of his MO. So yeah, I mean, you got to be able to scramble around here too, because they grow this rough up. Other than the workday, you're going to have to be able to manage. That's why the fairways, in terms of off the tee, matter so much, because the rough is pretty thick, because they are small and fast greens. Holding them becomes problematic, and then you're going to have to scramble because it's somewhat inevitable. I believe 8-10%. Greens in regulation lower than a tour average event. So, you're going to have to scramble here. So it is a tough track. And we typically get a great field here anyway, because it's Jack's place, but now it's an elevated event. So we have an even better rate. Basically everyone that can comes. Max isn't here, which is interesting. Tony's not here either. But that's really it.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, a little bit tighter, but they're still kind of wide in general in relation to other courses on tour. It's one of those things where you don't have to have crazy accuracy, but the guys who are a little wild, if you miss and you miss big, you're going to be in some pretty tall rough. They are going to have this grown out. We're talking 4-inch rough. It's going to be hard to hit out of. Little penal. You got tree lined fairways. We're up north. We're not out in the south or up in the northeast. It's trees, man. We're in the Midwest, sort of. I don't know what we consider Ohio. Ohio's kind of it's in that tweener zone, but
yeah,
either way, it's a tree lined parkland, wide fairways. There's water danger on a shitload of holes. Not that many bunkers, but they're strategically placed. You have a lot of tough bunkering around some of the greens. The greens are small. They're fast when you get on them. Around the green, it's extremely difficult. Guys who struggle to scramble and play around the green and putt just ain't going to do good here. And like we said, it's long, 7,500 yards. It is one of the longer ones. It's considered, in the long courses if you're trying to come up with corollaries and comps for this as well. So, I mean, obviously we can switch over to what matters here. Distance helps, but, like we said with this rough, it is probably, as Ron loves to harp on, total driving is important. Like, distance is going to be great, but super inaccurate distance is going to be a big problem. You're not going to be gaining a big advantage hitting at 325 when it's in this semi or penal rough, whatever you want to call. I know we need another word that says penal.
Penal's not a great word.
No, it just sounds kind of filthy, and also I associate it more with like the the prison complex, industry. We'll come up with something. It's tough. The rough is tall and tough, and it's a pain in the ass. But accuracy is going to be important as well as distance here. And then if you kind of want to talk about what are you running as far as putting around the green short game? What are you looking for here in these golfers?
So putting, I'm not really weighing at all because actually because they are small, and you read some of the quotes from the guys here, they talk about how pure these greens are. And really, when Jack was laying this out, he wanted this basically to be his version of Augusta. He wanted to have it kind of play in a similar way. And these greens are pure. Everyone raves about them. And because they are smaller, you typically aren't going to have a lot of longer putts. So like putting becomes, I think, not irrelevant, but it's not as hard to gain strokes. So I'm actually open to some team no putt guys. You won't have one featured prominently on the card here because I do think it is easier as long as you are kind of dialed into the green that you can kind of compete around here. So, but I think in terms of what matters here, when you look at it, yes, we have to factor in good drives gains because you have to be in the fairway. You have to give yourself shots. You're going to have a large polarity of approach shots like 175 plus, I think 175 to 200. And then when you get into like 225 plus, and that captures, if I can make up my own words, captures a lot of the par threes too. A lot of the long par threes here are 225 plus. So those things matter quite a bit. Yeah, you're going to have to scramble. I typically don't put sand saves in anything either, but I do think it does matter. I like to see what the numbers pop out, but I don't put it in any modeling. Surprisingly, that's going to give you pretty poor numbers on Patrick Cantlay, who's not really good in terms of sand saves. But I mean, distance, key proximity ranges, you got to be able to take advantage of the par fives here. There are 4 of them. They're all scoreable. They are your best opportunities to make some headway and get some birdie opportunities here because par fives are really hard. And same with the par threes.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I ended up too with the sand stuff. I never want to use it. It's a dumb sample. I mean, you just are going to have guys like, well, they just don't hit it in the sand that much. Like, go look at their proximity. Like, you're working with a goofy sample, and I mean, you said it with Cantlay. It's like if you start weighing some really granular stuff in like there, no pun intended, as we go granular in sand, but it does kind of toss some things around. So. Before we get to betting, and anybody we started to place wagers on, I know last week was obviously a good one to take some flyers. I didn't. I just wanted to get done with it and bet some matchups. I love last week for a tournament for matchups.
Crushed.
It was a good week for matchup betting. I enjoyed the Steven Stallings one. God, that one felt like sometimes it's easier to bet after the fact, obviously, but man, that felt like one I should have bet.
Was Steven Stallings in the news? It was the newsletter one, right?
Yeah. Nice. Sam Stevens, quietly becoming one of my favorite golfers. He's fun to watch. Harry Hall was fun. Just because he looks like a Peaky Blinders guy, and like he would like whoop your ass. But some bigger numbers near the top of the board. Is it a little bit of the opposite this week? Are we looking for big names, guys who maybe if their number is a little longer, they have to be at least guys who've played really well so far this year? I mean, just looking at who's won this traditionally, or even who's top 10 here.
Yeah, we have a couple elevated events now where we've had winners come down the board, but I think you're probably still best off taking shots at or near the top. Tried to make the case for Scottie last week. And look, again, it's been last week was Scottie in a nutshell, right? Just tee to green immaculate. Just not making enough putts, but it's just still so good tee to green that he's still in the mix. So I get the case for Scottie here. I still, saw some talk around that yesterday because he is tee to green basically over a stretch of the last, depending on what you do with the sample size, 3 months, 6 months, 50 rounds, like kind of like Tiger territory in terms of what Scottie is doing tee to green. Rahm is a little bit behind that, but Rahm is still just not that far behind and just such a better baseline putter. So I do think it is really, to your point around the top three, a big three, it is those two and everyone else. So it becomes every type of major, every type of elevated event, making a Scottie or Rahm decision at the top. It's really hard to separate the two. And I think that's why a lot of handicappers probably do what I do, is you probably just stay away because it's really hard to separate. You want to take a shot at the top, and it's just really hard to make a case for one of the two over the other based off of, how well they're both playing.
Yeah. And like at this point, if you make me like, hey, put me on the spot, say you have to bet one of those top two, it's probably Rahm. It's not only for the form and what we've seen from him the last few years, but just like Scottie's putting right now.
Yeah.
Like Scottie is the best player in the world. If you got to stop playing golf once he got on the green, he would. If that was par, as soon as you're on the green, par. Guess what? He's won the last 5 events. Just like it's been a little struggle, and it's crazy. Like it's not like he's a bad putter. He's a middle of the pack putter, and that's going to keep you just at arm's length from winning some events. So I'm sure he knows this. Obviously, the world's talking about it. He knows it as well. I'm sure he'll sort some stuff out, and I'd look for him to have this sorted out and probably be very competitive at the final 2 majors we have and the playoffs. But right now, Rahm gets the heads up for me, and truthfully, I ended up going with one of the big 3, and I haven't made a single bet yet. So I put this number up here, and I'm waiting. Bookmakers being a huge pain in the ass, and I refuse to make these bets because I'm, again, offshore guy. I'm going to be betting into these markets unless I do find time to get to a legal state or mail some money to some of you a-holes in Illinois. But I'm assuming this is around the number I'm going to get. I'm going to bet him unless this, something happens today and all of a sudden he's like 8 in the market. But getting essentially the same kind of stats, form, and honestly a little bit course fit better. It's hard to look at course fit when you look at guys near the top. Because just like what we said about Scottie and Rahm, it's like, where are we gonna differentiate? Like, oh, you're elite at almost everything, and you're elite at almost everything, and like, oh, where's your weakness? Well, there's a big weakness, sticks out like a sore thumb, but it's still above average on like tour in this field. So it's hard to find weaknesses on any of these guys. This is more of a price play. Course history is a little predictive here. A lot of it just comes down to good golfers play good golf here. It's a tough place to play. He can grind it out here. He says 2 wins, 4 top 5s here. Like, just it's a good course for him. I know putting, like you said, we don't weigh it heavily. I weighed it very lightly, and I only looked at bent grass splits, just like who putts really well when we have these pure, easy, fast surfaces like this up north. Not heavily weighted, but he is still one of the best bent grass putters here. And then also too, the length is going to come into play. Even the guys who are accurate and long off the tee are going to be hitting iron shots, buck 175, 200, something like that. So I did look at some of the proximity numbers with the small greens, the greens and regulation numbers for some of these spots when you're 200 yards out in your iron shots. And he's great with the long irons, and he leads the field in par 5 scoring. Like we said, there's not a ton of holes where you're going to be able to score here. It's a tough course. The par 4s are all crazy long. If you set yourself up for a birdie putt, it's just because you had an amazing approach shot and almost probably a little bit of luck with you as well, how small these greens are. So if you can't play well on par 5s in general, it's going to be hard to move up the leaderboard. And he is number 1 in the field in strokes gained on par 5s over the last 50 rounds. So Cantlay, 10, 11, 12. I hope Bookmaker opens and it's just like 13.50 or something. But I disgust myself betting these, but I couldn't And I hate him. I hate his stupid face.
I
I hate
know.
everything about him.
When you look at kind of the top tier in this field, and you look at like the last 36 rounds or so, he's like really the only elite guy that I have that's in the top 10 in fairways gained. Even Morikawa, who we talk about typically being a fairway finder, and that's kind of a spot where we like Morikawa, where it's fairways and irons. Like Cantlay's even more accurate off the tee in the last like recent form and hits it significantly further than Morikawa as well. So it's just a massive edge. He does everything well. There's really no weakness. I mean, I have with what I ran, he's in the top 10 par 4 scoring. He's second in par 5. He's top 10 in 200 plus proximity, greens and red gains, just bogey avoidance. Cause you're going to have to make sure that you're scrambling, getting up and down while he just kind of does everything well. If you can get the 11, that's a pretty nice number comparatively in the marketplace. Cause like even Chris is down to like 8, he's 10 everywhere else domestically. So yeah, that would be a pretty nice price. Put him with the Nuggets series. You probably get him to chase out a little bit.
I know. I thought about doing some parlays this week. Honestly, I might have to do and I know these series are going to take 3 weeks. Like I looked at the NBA final schedule.
Crazy.
Like how are we going to be at like next Saturday and only have 4 games in? It's just wild how long they stretch this out. But
yeah,
I'll probably do an NHL series, NBA series, and golf outright kind of matchup here. So it'd be awful fun to put one of those together. And then I honestly, I really wasn't on the computer yesterday. I've been very light in the Discord. I don't even know if I know who you bet. I'm not even sure who's up next.
Let's go.
I'm looking at this. I think it might be me, but I don't know. Maybe we match up on one of these.
Yeah, I don't know who you bet either. You have not posted anything.
Pretty tight to the kind of the second and third tier. Like I said, big game hunters here looking for good golfers. Another guy I love to bet because he's just never let me down. It's always been, what I think I'm going to get. He always comes through and gets it for me. I've cashed in on him a ton of times. Every time he's won a tournament, I've been there. He's always there for me. Xander Schauffele. Another one where that's I hate it. I hate it so much, but I started running my pricing versus the pricing, and like both of these guys, I couldn't find weaknesses in the game. And it's just, if we're gonna go, hey, it's a second shot course because they're all second shot courses, and it's hard to find greens here. And I ran some splits on him playing at courses with smaller greens, playing at courses with harder scoring, distributions, playing at courses with high-end fields, approach game, elite, greens and regulation percentage, elite. And then you say like, well, what if that stuff isn't super perfect because it's a tough week? He's a really, really good scrambler. Like he's a great scrambler. These greens are tough. If you miss them, the rough is crazy. There's a lot of bunkering. He's great scrambling. He's great putting, again in the lightly weighted, but still looked at bentgrass splits. And it just, when I started doing my actual model for course fit, and I said, I need total driving. I need approach. I need greens and regulations in the splits. I need proximity from 175. I need proximity from 200 plus. I need this, that, and the other thing. And I ran it across. It's just, there's no weak spot right in his game when it comes to the course fit, and the form is good enough where I'm happy with this. And I'd be curious, like what does it say on your sheet right now, or the website you use? What does it say he is at Chris? Because Chris doesn't have numbers up. They haven't for several hours.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm guessing it's pulling an old API, and it'll be interesting to see what happens when they reopen.
Yeah, 1350.
Okay.
Which is the best. No, MGM, if you had domestics, has a 14 on Xander.
So there's a 15 at Bet Online right now. Hoping for maybe, again, wishful thinking perhaps, but Chris reopens and it's like, 1642. Like, I'd be interested in that. Was that something you'd be interested in?
Yeah.
Ever watch Entourage?
I did run.
Remember that guy?
It's not a bad rewatch, probably. I don't know if it holds up, but my it's been. I'd
watch the Bob Saget season, like where he's heavily involved. I like him a lot in that one. So is that something you'd be interested in? These aren't enticing numbers, but the way I make these in a small field where I think you need to be elite at a bunch of different things, I like these two at their price better than Scottie or Rahm.
Yeah. It is an interesting note. It is a smaller field. It's an invitational. Oh, green screen coming down. It is an invitational technology. I don't want you to I don't want you to see my football stuff, so I put the green screen up.
No, I mean you can stand up, but we'll take a look at that hind end.
Yeah, it's it's an invitational, 120 guys, so not your full field event. Look at this. Look at this. Masterclass. So yeah, I don't love the prices either, but oftentimes when you're looking at Cantlay or Xander, they typically overlap. You're not going to find a place where you're like, oh, I love Cantlay here. Just Xander's not a great fit, because I feel like they're somewhat the same dude. They're even, they're buddies. They like to vacation together. If you can get those numbers that you posted with 11 and 15, I don't hate it at all. They make a ton of sense here. Xander last year finished 18th. That's his worst Memorial finish, basically since missed cut in 18, but 14, 14, 13, 11, 18. So seems like a great top 20 bet this week for Xander, depending on the number there.
Don't hate that. Yeah, yep. These are all liable for kind of positional stuff. This is too funny. It's coming down. So it was driving me nuts that I didn't know, because usually I at least go take a look, and it all comes back to I haven't had a lot of time because we had the holiday weekend and I'm still getting back into the swing of things. So I just popped into the Discord to see who you bet, and guess what?
Overlap.
Like I said, I haven't bet yet. I'm still waiting.
Okay.
I know where the best numbers are available currently for me without Chris. I'm waiting for Chris to reopen before I actually pull some triggers. But these are my guys, unless something crazy happens in the market. We overlap on the next one, so I'll let you take it.
I love a lot of the things that we're talking about with finding fairways, hitting it far. They have nice, long, good approaches, and that is young Terrell Hatton, who has not played here a lot, which is surprising. I was trying to figure out why, and again, I didn't spend a ton of time on the computer yesterday either. But when you look at total driving, he's 12th in the season. So again, that's a combination of distance ranking. It's kind of a flawed stat, but it's out there. It's basically your driving ranking in terms of distance and your ranking with accuracy, combining those two numbers, lower the better. And Hatton's inside the top 12, third in good drives over the last 36 rounds, which gives him, kind of speaks to the combination of his ability to hit it long and far, but leave himself solid approach shots too. And he's really been close, like 4 straight T19s, but he's 14 starts here. Last 14 starts, he has 7 T7 or better, multiple top 5s there. He's been really, really close. I would have thought he had a great course history here, and was surprised to see that he really hasn't played much here over the last handful of years. But I feel like this is a great fit for his game, and he's dialed in. I like how he's playing, even at the PGA Championship, where we think, hey, he runs so hot, we don't want him on courses that can really frustrate him. But great fit for him here. 33 was available early on Monday. Those are all gone. Let me see what's the best out there now. 25s. Chris, 32.50 on Chris, by far the best that I could see out there right now.
Currently for me, because he was one I said we overlapped on, I found a 30. Okay. I'm waiting for Chris. If Chris is better, I will bet him. But look at this. His past 4 months, he has a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Like, there's nothing predictive about, adding up all the numbers like you're in one of those 0 for 13 leagues in baseball. But it is just funny. I had to add that because it's funny. Like, definition of knocking at the door. Yeah. Tee to green numbers trending up. I wrote despite having to play Augusta, which he just hates. And that is always one that's going to drag him down a little bit. His numbers are really good this year. His form is good. The fit's good. And like we said, the total driving, Rahm's, I was a big proponent of that. It's been good. His distance he's not a bomber, but it's average to above average most places. And the high-end accuracy is going to drag that all the way up. So total driving, he's going to put himself in good positions to take advantage of mid to long irons, and kind of banking on form to carry him home here. And I like him at 30, 35, hopefully 35. Worst case for me, 30, but that 30 is still available right now. And I'm not scared off betting him at that price.
It's my shortest play, but I definitely have room, and I'm considering a couple that are in that top tier that we, even the two guys that you float around with Cantlay and Xander, I think are fantastic plays. So again, I do think it's a spot where I'd rather be either the guy that I think is really mispriced that belongs somewhat in that tier, or someone at the very top, because that's kind of how this course is played over the last handful of years, especially since the Reno. When you kind of look at the top of the board, like I know like Billy Horschel, our defending champ, is miles away from that guy right now, but Billy Horschel was playing really well last year. Do you know who finished second here last year, Andy? He's not here this week. I'm thankful for that because it is Aaron Wise.
I was going to say, did Sal play well here?
Final group, Aaron Wise last year, and Billy just kind of ran away with it. But and Aaron Wise loves this place, so I feel good that I can keep my money and not have to sink it onto Aaron Wise. So a few others.
I really thought I was going to be mostly in this range, like the Hovland through like Fitzpatrick 20 through 45, 50 range. And I was surprised too that like when I started to run pricing, it's like, man, I'm going to bet Xander and Cantlay. This sucks. I'm going to be spending money near the top, but a lot of what I liked was in this mid range as well.
Yep. In a solid range and in a pretty deep range, because I feel like there's a pretty sizable drop off, once you get down into, the 60, it drops off pretty quickly to like the hundreds here. So what's next for you on this? Do you have any others? I don't know how, because you got three kind of towards the top here. I don't know if you've been bombing at all or.
I have two more.
Okay.
One isn't a bomb. I'm hoping to shop around and find something better, and I think you'll like it as well. Hint. But another one in this middle range, another one I found in the 30s, obviously playing well enough, mentioned on the show a couple weeks back, and then he went out and did his damn thing. And I still wonder if we're getting a little bit of a discount. He missed 2 of the past 3 cuts, including a major, which I'm going to throw it out. It's like, it's a major. He's not going to play well. Like, that's fine. But missed 2 of the 3 past cuts, maybe giving me a little bit of a discount. I thought he'd be priced a little lower than this. There's a 33 out on Jason Day still. And then my points here kind of one leads into the other. Really nice course fit. Like almost everything except the longer irons. So some of the proximity numbers on the longer irons are they're not bad. It's not like, oh, he's horseshit, can't do it. But it's not as great as everything else across the board for him. But the same kind of thing where you need to look at the picture as a whole. Everything is the sum of the parts. That's how golf works. Elite scrambling kind of makes up for some of that stuff. If he's missing it, I'm more than comfortable with him around the green. I'm more than comfortable with him scrambling. I'm comfortable with him out of the sand. And I think he's going to be just fine. So this was 33. Again, that's the best I'm finding right now. I know there's some 30s in the market, somewhere around there, but again, waiting to see if I can hunt some. God, I might even do the unthinkable here. Real quick aside, as I don't really keep money in this account, but because it's not a great book, but my bookie suddenly has some money. Someone sent me money from Canada, a friend that I will bet for sometimes. And he has like 17 outs in Canada, but they didn't have the market for a juniors hockey tournament. He wanted to bet on the Canadians at 2-1. And this was in January. And we sat and sweated the under 21 tournament or whatever it was. Connor Bedard was amazing. That was like my first introduction to him. I sweated. I lived and died with this kid because he bet it. So I put a couple $100 on it too. I'm like, this is fun, like sweating out a tournament that I had no idea was even going on. And we got to the end of it. And 3 days later, Canada won. We won. They hadn't cashed the ticket. So I sent some screenshots back to him after he'd sent me the screenshot asking if I could bet at my bookie for him. And we both determined that it was actually the tournament in May. so this past week or 2, we went back to the well. It's not like these were big bets, but it's still like you make a bet, you're gonna sweat it. It's fun.
Yeah.
So we got to relive it. You only live twice. So we had to sweat a worser Canadian team without Bedard, with a worser team because of how the playoffs work in the NHL. Like not all the players could show up, and he was explaining to me which teams would be better if they lost earlier for our team, and would be bad for us if some of these Finnish players. So I cashed an outright on a international hockey tournament this week. So maybe I'll have to pop over to my bookie once in a while. They usually have pretty shitty outright prices, but once in a while they have an off-market one here and there. It's kind of the same with a lot of these lesser offshores. So congrats to me. I did not hit Grillo, but
Love
I did hit Canada at 2-1 to win the I don't even know what the fuck it's called, but congrats to them. Good job, Canada. Jason Day was my second to last. I don't know where you stand. I think you got one in between here in the end.
I like Day quite a bit. Day is I don't know if I don't think he's from the area. He's local. Like, I know this has always been like a place that everyone thought Jason Day would play well because he's familiar. So I don't know if it's a home course, but it's somewhat like, Xander, Torrey Pines vibes. Like you always kind of think that that's like really easy and it just never really happens. But yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. Like he's playing really well. I think we should, he did kind of finally get over the hump and get the win, back at TPC Craig Ranch. And still probably undervalued if you can find north of 30. So I kind of like that. And that would be the best in market when you look at what's out there currently. There were some like early 30s or low 30s there. MGM's got a 30. Chris will have, maybe 33 and change if they come back up with the same numbers. So I don't have anything in between it. I have another guy who has some pretty decent course history, a guy that's been hard for us to click on for, I guess, going on 2 years now, because there's just, I don't know, we just never know really what we're going to get in terms of, neck pain, withdrawal, what's going to happen. But I went to the well with Hideki here. I know Rahm got there as well. You kind of look at what he's been doing. It looks like I don't know if it's just the neck thing or if it looks intentional, because looks like he's just a little shorter than he used to, but he's more accurate off the tee. So it looks like maybe a design change to give up a little bit of accuracy to find fairways. That's going to play here really well. Still a tremendous long iron player, and is somewhat surprisingly a positive putter. Over the last 20 rounds, he is gaining strokes putting. The elite, scrambling short game is still there. Last 36 rounds, I have him fourth in the field in scrambling. Did not make any putts. Again, he's making putts as of late. Did not make any putts at the PGA, but gained 10.4 strokes tee to green. Has been playing pretty good golf. So I think 40 is a bad number to place where he has a nice history, and kind of fits if he can stay somewhat in the middle of the fairway here. So I like Decky at 40. Let me see what's out there still. I don't know if there's any more of those 40. Yeah, 40 still full out there. Again, MGM, still a nice number. 43 and change at Chris. So you can get closer. I know Ron hit a 45 quickly, but mostly 35s out there on Hideki.
Yeah. And somebody I'm looking at using probably in matchups. If he looks all right, I like his fit. Just scared of the injury stuff.
Yep.
And if he looks good in round one, he gets a bump for round two and round three in matchups. And Ethan here says Penal Colony, Penal Rough, Jason Day, Adam Scott week. Oh, Adam Scott on the radar, obviously. I'm gonna probably love him in matchups as well. Just couldn't quite get there on the outright number. And then do you have one more? Because I have one more.
I have two more, but they're a little further down.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll let you close it too. I'll take this one, even though I know you're going to like this. And it's another one where it's like, hey, good form, Wyndham Clark, let's go. I know you bet this as well, because I did, like I said, I just did double check this sort of thing. If he can putt, he can win. Like, it is not full team no putt. Do you put him on team no putt?
No, he's a good putter.
Like I know, but this year
for years, the last couple of years, he's been team no approach. He's always been long and he can putt.
I know, but it's team like streaky putting. Sure, it's either like he's never bad. It's like, hey, you're average, or it's like bam, and that's what we saw at Wells Fargo. He had a bam. I get what you're saying. It's just I have him as like kind of average. I don't know, over a long sample. Like it's good. It's good when it's good, but like he gained 7.5 on the greens at the Wells Fargo. When he putts, he can win. Big hitter off the tee, little accuracy that worries me. That's why this is a bigger number, I suppose. But He's great in par 5 scoring. He's great in distance. He's great in a few other things that checks a few boxes. And like I said, if the putting is where it can be at times, he's liable to win one of these things. I'm trying to look at where else he had spike putting weeks. Because
the only thing that concerns me is fairways, really.
Yeah.
When you kind of look at it, that's really the only thing over the last little bit where that could be problematic, but he hits it really far. He's really good at everything else. Yeah, I mean, spike putting weeks. Let me see. I mean, last
he gained
120
strokes at the RBC last year, Canadian.
Last 120 tournaments, pretty large sample. He is plus 1 stroke putting. So like, a quarter stroke per round or so over the last 120 events. It's pretty good. I mean, we had some rocky stuff a little bit last year, but like for the most part, he gains a ton of, the Canadian 7th place there at last year's RBC. Basically, again, like when you look at it, like he couldn't do anything on approach. The rest of the game was good. All of a sudden he's made some changes and you see some solid approach weeks strung together, which has kind of been something he has done. He's gained.
Yeah. I guess I was looking at a smaller sample. I have him gaining about a quarter stroke per round putting over the last 50. But if you look at a bigger one, it is a little better.
Yep. Yeah, been good. I mean, obviously not a great PGA, but majors can do that to guys, and had been trending well heading into the Wells Fargo, and obviously sealed the deal there. And the spot where you like Xander, where Xander played well, again, Wells Fargo, long, difficult golf course. When he won there pretty convincingly. So yeah, I like him. I just don't think he should be at high 60s. I got a 70 and an enhanced number at Rivers. I just feel like I don't want to make this is not really fair because Max had won a bunch before, but like it just got to a point last year where Max just shouldn't be where he was in terms of pricing with his peers. And sometimes actually popping true probabilities on some of these guys is really hard. You just kind of have to look at where they are in relation to the board with some of their other guys, and he should be a little bit shorter, in my opinion.
I have him 7th in my form model. Obviously top 15 in fit. Yep. But and it's a big number. Like this is one. There's a couple of bombs, and then maybe I'll just mention them off the bat because you have one left that I didn't quite get to. I was not far off, but some of the bombs that started to creep near the top of the board, which one I hate. Matt Kuchar, which probably isn't going to happen. Putnam is probably a look at top 40 for me if I get that way. Rogers, Eric Cole, still dragging big numbers behind him.
Yeah.
Brendan Todd's another big one. And then some of the Canadians, all the Adams, Hadvin, Svensson, Scott. Scott's not a big number, obviously, but those guys were kind of grouped up for me too. And then Samuel Stevens, as always, he's probably going to end up in matchups again. But how'd you land on a big number here? And should I just blindly bet it because of last week?
Maybe. I mean, this is a tough one. Like if we've been riding the Gary Woodland train at all, and even in matchups, finishing position bets, and you're doing it while watching golf, it's been really tough. It makes it very hard to actually click on his name to win a golf tournament. But again, I've removed putting from any modeling this week because of what we've seen historically. It's not as hard to gain strokes putting here. Gary Woodland's 6th in my model in the last 36 rounds. He's top 20 in approach, driving distance, good drive percentage, par 5 scoring, really good in proximity from 175 plus. He just has been abysmal on the greens. It's been just awful. So, I mean, he is basically a poor man's Scottie.
I knew you were going to say that. I almost said that out loud.
Yeah, but like more exaggerated. He's not as good tee to green, and he's even worse putting. But like everything else is really good. If we gave Scottie all those trophies, if we just didn't have to make putts, like Woodland's on the podium in most of these events as of late. So yeah, this is just a spot where you can kind of club down a little bit too. And Gary's really good. It's not a bad thing for him to find fairways, because I have him on the calendar year, the best player from the fairway over 200 yards in strokes gained approach. So he's just been really, really good. Can make a putt. Hopefully he doesn't find the long rough around the greens or leave himself with 25 footers, because it's going to be a mess. But yeah, 125 on Gary. I mean, people are betting Gary at 60 in, full field events that don't fit him as well as this place. So the 125, I just think is a bad number.
Yeah, still available to me too. I can
Yep.
I can get that. You can win 400 to win 550,000. Look at that.
Look at
So
that.
I'll do that. Seems a little aggressive,
Yeah.
Gare Bear, but I'll tell you a little on that. That's probably too big of a number. I have him like 20th, 25th, somewhere in there. He's not that far down the list.
Also had to get in. I didn't put it on. I haven't posted it.
Bonus pick.
Akshay, got to bet Akshay. It's like he's like 400. Is he winning the Memorial for his first tournament? He's like 20 years old. But in terms of what actually matters here, he's really good. His putting's been better. He went to this stupid aim point putting.
Aim points. Maddening watching people do that.
But it seems to be working for him. He's finding fairways. I mean, I don't know. Like I'm looking at some like scrambling hasn't been great, but greens and reg has been great. Long proximity has been terrific. Like again, he's like 400 to 1. So like you can put $5 on it and sleep fine. It'll help your books too, because they'll be like, oh, this guy's betting $5 on stuff. We don't have to worry about him. But yeah,
I will probably be, and I don't bet a lot of these unless I'm just tailing someone, but he's gonna be 125 to 150 to be first round leader.
Yeah.
I'm going to bet that.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of his MO. Like he has a 62 in him, and he has inside of me are 2 wolves. One is 8 under, one is 8 over.
Yes.
Like, and if he plays really well, 2 rounds this tournament, wouldn't surprise me. If he only plays 2 rounds this tournament, wouldn't surprise me.
Right.
So I will be looking at him as a first round leader bet for another little funsy one for sure.
That's probably the smart way to do it for sure. Yeah. Some of the guys that caught my eye, like I would love to bet Ricky, but we just keep getting Ricky priced as if he's winning golf tournaments. I hate the number so much. Shane Lowry, Corey Connors are also very appealing to me as well. That might be where I add, because I'm probably going to add one more. Siwoo's interesting. I wish I would have got in on, excuse me, Russell Henley. Russell Henley is like 85, 90s. Those are all gone. It's like 55, 60. I like that price quite a bit. I'm not going to get in on the 60 on Henley, but finishing position bets will be on the card. And then kind of a bomb. I like some of the guys you mentioned, Eric Cole, Sam Stevens, we got to do. Ches Reavie has been playing good golf, does not hit the ball very far, but his long proximity is terrific, and he finds a ton of fairways. So he's been a form guy over his career. He gets these little pockets. And again, like he hasn't been lighting up, but he's been like top 40ing for the last couple of weeks and has played pretty well here in his career. So I like him. And then this kid, I surprised where he popped in my model, and I have not bet him. I don't think even in a finishing position bet or anything at all. But is it Austin Eckrott?
I used him quite a bit. He's a great TFS play last week. He played really well, and yeah, not somebody I bet, but boy, I was cheering for him for a few Rainmakers teams for sure.
Yeah, long or fairways, he's been tremendous. Distance is okay, middle of the pack, but his long proximity is great. Par 4 scoring, long par 4 scoring, terrific. Again, if he's going to be in the fairway and he's hitting these long proximity irons really well, I kind of like his chances. So again, this is going to be a T40 bet. Someone like this is probably not going to be available in matchups. Maybe again, because there's only 120 guys here. So domestics just don't give us as many. I don't have the plethora of matchup options that you do. I've been looking more and more. I haven't been betting many of them, but I typically used to not really look much, but I've been looking and trying to find something.
It is weird how they just don't have that offering, but they're just, hey, let's offer this guy to have an eagle on round 2. It's like,
yeah,
people actually betting those? Like, offer markets that people are going to get you some liquidity on. So, and Nick, our friend from overseas, says he'll be betting a Rahm, Augusta, Rodin win double, predicting that the streak, I guess, will stay alive. Will not have a British Triple Crown winner either, as I know that's not the horse that won the 2,000 guineas. I just don't know the name of the horse who won the first race. So I think that's the second leg of their Triple Crown. It's not as good as ours, although you look at the history of the horse races we have, like the horse races over there. It's like this has been run since like 1648 or whatever. Shit's crazy over there. So I wish you the best of luck on that. If my guys are out of the running, obviously, then Rahm can win. Otherwise, I hope Rahm falls into a pond. Although the last time we saw Rahm start a tournament poorly,
it worked out okay.
He just straight up missed 2 really easy putts. It did work out pretty well for him. So wouldn't surprise me one of the top guys is just holding that trophy this week. And I think that's about all I have this week. Excited. Congrats to my guy, Harold Varner III, for a nice takedown on the live.
It was a good golf weekend. I don't know if you had a good senior PGA with some guys we know and love. There's a lot of good golf to watch if you weren't having to just chase the Grillo. I thought it was dead. He was like in the lead or in the mix on Saturday, and then all of a sudden, I wasn't watching much on Saturday. Looked at everything once it closed, and all of a sudden he had a really bad back 9, and he was 4 off. And I was like, all right, well, he was in the mix. At least the finishing position bets will cover it because it was like plus 145 for a T40. So we were good there. But I thought the dream was over. But
yeah, and I'd looked at it, and then our guy Kieran bet it and moved the number a little. So then I hammered it a touch, but I had a Cam Smith over Brooks bet.
Yeah,
which as his hangover got better, it got tighter. I think he only won by 1 stroke. But
Sunday split there.
That looked really good on Friday, and then it slowly the booze and whatever else got out of Brooksy's system, and he played pretty well, but ended up cashing a winner there too. So it was a nice golf weekend all around, and looking forward to this next stretch run to the U.S. Open.
Yep. So good time to buy the subscription. The betting sub or the monthly subs are just $19.99. Obviously get you through the next major. We're into Canada next week. Lots of good golf still on the docket. So check that out. You can get all of our picks. You get these numbers we're talking about that aren't available anymore. Those are available for our subscribers in the Discord on Monday morning. Ron is, we're typically one of us is making a bet before 8 a.m. Eastern when these numbers are first coming out. I typically make some of my golf outrights on Monday morning from my bed. I just roll over, see if anything's up, and fire it at some guys that I know that I'm looking at ahead of time. So then you get the tools, all the content, all that on BetSports Golf. You can get the yearly sub, but again, $19.99 for a month lets you get in, get a taste of it, play around with the tools, content, all that good stuff. Highly, highly, highly recommend that.
Word, yeah. If you have any questions, obviously DM us. Our Twitter handles are right on the screen. If you're listening in podcast form, it's in the show notes. Hit us up. Bug us if you have any golf questions. And yeah, enjoy the Memorial. Good luck this week. Sorry, it's a short week and it's a grind getting back at it, but such is life. We're not too far off from putting that crown on Max Homa here in a couple weeks. So let's go, guys.